Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. Let's take a trip into wine country. Sounds nice, right? It's hard to believe that it's been 20 years since the Sideways movie, and the Sideways effect is still very strong. What is the Sideways effect, you ask? The Sideways effect gained currency throughout the wine industry following the mainstream success of the movie Sideways, which lauded Pinot Noir at the expense of Merlot wines. I was in the restaurant business during this time, operating 4 restaurants in Southern California. The Enterprise Fish Company was in Santa Barbara, just over the hill from the San Ynez wine country, where Sideways was filmed at the Hitching Post. Overnight, Pinot Noir was king, and Merlot was basically obsolete. No one was buying it. I think I still have 6 cases in storage somewhere. How could a movie cause so much disdain for Merlot, which had always been the most requested red wine at that time, and replace it with the newer, cooler Pinot Noir so quickly? So, if you remember the film, I know it's been 20 years, maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. It's about a struggling writer and a wine enthusiast named Miles, played by Paul Giamatti. He takes his engaged friend, Jack, played by Thomas Hayden Church, on a trip to wine country for a last single guy bonding experience. And while Miles wants to just relax and enjoy the wine, Jack is searching for a fling before his wedding. Soon, Jack is sleeping with Stephanie, played by Sandra Oh, while her friend, Maya, played by Virginia Madsen, connects with Miles. When Miles accidentally lets it slip that Jack is getting married, both women are furious, sending the trip into disarray. So Sideways was released back in October 12th, 2004 by director Alexander Payne, story by Rex Pickett, screenplay by Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor, and it was distributed by Searchlight Pictures and was nominated for, I believe the total was 5 nominations. The multi-Oscar winning movie hit $86.2 million internationally and crossed 200 million worldwide. At the 77th Academy Awards, the film was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Hayden Church, Best Supporting Actress, Madsen, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And it actually ended up winning Best Adapted Screenplay. It also got 2 Golden Globes for Best Movie Comedy or Musical and Screenplay Adapted. Rotten Tomatoes, that's where I always go. Tomato meter, 97%. Doesn't get much higher than that. I mean, maybe 3 points, but it's a 97% is pretty good. Typically, I'm going to enjoy that. Audience score of 79%. And now, 20 years since the release, the Hitching Post is thrilled to announce a partnership with Searchlight Pictures with a commemorative Hitching Post Pinot Noir that was featured in the film. And there's more. Winemaker dinners, special Sideways events, and tasting throughout Southern California with some of our favorite chefs and restaurateurs that all have been on the Jeremiah Show here multiple times. My special guest today, though, is my friend and winemaker. He's the co-owner of the world-famous Hitching Post, Frank Ostini. Frank and Jamie Ostini's family has led Central Coast Oak Wood Barbecue since 1952. The Hitching Post 2 honors a tradition that's dating back over 200 years. The Hitching Post 2 restaurant and Hitching Post Wines also offer the most authentic Santa Barbara wine country experience you can have if you're visiting in the San Ynez Valley. Guests can enjoy traditional Pinot Noirs in a nearly 100-year-old tasting room, paired with a high-quality barbecue lunch in a scenic outdoor setting. I was telling Frank off air, my sister and her boyfriend were there last weekend, and Frank came by the table and didn't know them, but just took great care of them as he does for every guest that walks in or visits. I've had that same experience with Frank and his wife, and they're amazing, and they're an amazing team. Uh, Top notch service, really. The iconic Hitching Post 2 Steakhouse was established in 1986, and it serves Central Coast oak wood barbecue, steaks, and seafood, complemented by the Hitching Post and local wines. Frank Ostini oversees both the kitchen and winemaking and tableside service sometimes. I don't know how he does it all. Starting in 1984, he and his winemaking partner, Gray Hartley, crafted Pinot Noir to pair with the restaurant's cuisine, an endeavor that continues to inspire him. The experienced staff, many have over 25 years of service. I mean, where do you find that anymore? Maybe the Palm in LA. There's not too many restaurants that can say that the servers have been there that long. They contribute to the family atmosphere and the success of the Hitching Post. So last, I believe me, I'm gonna bring in Frank. He's gonna bring in some wine. It's all gonna get fun and good. Hitching Post 2 has been acclaimed by the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, Sunset Magazine, USA Today, Eater, and Forbes. Has also been featured on the Food Network. Frank, despite all this, is down to earth and humble. He does not have a big head at all. Welcome, Frank.
Hey, Jeremiah, thank you for having me.
So good to see you again. Last time I saw you, you were doing a summer music nights up there at the restaurant, which is so beautiful along the, I don't know, it's not a river, is it? But it dried out river valley.
Well,
Just
this year there's
beautiful.
been water in that river, so there's the saying is river is real. I'm here to
Oh,
tell
okay.
you, there actually has been water. There's several ponds behind the restaurant, and most of the year you could see some water in there, but most years it's dry as a bone for sure. But it's a beautiful view looking out, especially the mountains behind them. There's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful St. Ynez Mountains. It's one of the beautiful spots of the valley. We're so happy that we're able to uh, to have that property for the lease, which is like 20 more years. So
Oh,
it feels like ours. It feels like home. Of course,
now,
we've been 38 years there in the restaurant in Buellton. Um,
congratulations.
and only the last 5 years have we had the tasting room next door and the lunch venue, and it's just spectacular as far as we can tell. I love
It
it.
is. I mean, you've got fire pits, not that you need them in the summer up in San Ynez, but you have just a beautiful, as you said, the beautiful view. What type of trees are those? I remember the trees, the shade, they were just beautiful.
There's a
The
gorgeous oak tree that you
oak
set
tree.
under. That thing has to be 200-300 years old. There's also
Mm.
some pepper trees. It's a pretty shaded property. It's right on the riverbank, and of course, you sit on picnic tables. You order your food, and then we cook it in the restaurant and deliver it. So everything comes off the same oak wood fire that we've been famous for since 1986.
And you said you're going to be there for another 20 years. You signed another lease for 20 years.
Well, the landlord actually says we can have it forever. They think we're one of the iconic spots of
Yeah.
the valley, and they're big supporters. And they've owned the property since the early '50s, and they're determined that we're going to stay there. I mean, you know, Buellton's always had an iconic restaurant there. The the stop on the highway was Pea Soup Anderson's for 100 years, and that place just closed this past year. I think they're going to tear down the old building and put a hotel in or shops. I'm not really sure. It's sad to lose something like that, but we're now the iconic institution of Buellton, and we're happy to be that. And of course, Sideways 20 years ago brought us. We were very popular restaurant for 20 years already, and things were really well. But that was a whole nother world what Sideways brought to us, and it was just an amazing experience. And but we just keep plugging away, man. We're only as good as the last meal we serve. And that's what I keep telling my people.
That's a good rule to live by in the business, because you can't really ever sit back and rest on your laurels, or think, hey, we've gained this fame and this popularity, we're okay. Because you just got to keep pushing every day, be a little bit better, and take care of your guests. And that's one of the things that I love when I visit up there. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that my sister just noticed, it was, you're out there. Frank's out there. He's out shaking hands and making sure that everything, the whole experience lives up to the reputation that you've built over these years. So I was just mentioning the 20 years, because I guess we'll have to do this again, the 40-year sideways anniversary in 20 years from
Oh,
now.
they'll be 30s, they'll be 40. We're
40-year.
fairly certain that we're going to be toasting sideways in 30 more years, as it'll be a 50-year-old movie. It will be a classic. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, we'll be quite classic ourselves. We'll be in our early hundreds, 100 something years old. But I'm determined to stay around for that. We're pretty sure it's really interesting. I always told my people the movie will come and go. We've been here 50, we're going to be here another 50 years if we do this right. But ultimately, the movie will outlive us because it is a classic. And it's a little early declaring a movie a classic only after just 20 years, but it's as relevant as it ever was. And I'm fairly certain that in 50, 100 years, someone will watch that movie. They will know what we were thinking about as far as the way we approached wine, the passion that we had about winemaking. So they give us just a bit of immortality, which is amongst everything they gave us. That's one of the most cherished parts.
Mm, how beautiful.
Yeah.
So Frank, what's it like when Hollywood comes to town and takes over your restaurant?
Well, everyone said, brace yourselves. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be horrible. They're gonna trample over everything. And so we were very skeptical. It turned out that they were amazingly wonderful people. They came in 2 weeks ahead of time to do their site check, and all the different teams came together. They had already been told that we were one of the highest respected businesses in the region. So they came in with their eyes like just they were just so impressed to be there, and they were showing me and the building so much respect immediately. They wanted to keep everything the same. They and they were just actually when 3 days of filming, they were as wonderful as you could imagine. They every time they wanted to do something, they'd ask if they could do it. They kept as much the same as they could. It was pretty amazing. They're just great people, and they were. It's because Alexander Payne, the director, is a wonderful, wonderful human being, intelligent and compassionate, and it followed through with everybody that he brought in.
Well, I think movie making is a little bit like running a restaurant in a way, where you're, if you put that love in it, you put that passion in, and you treat people well, and you have a real vision. It's entertainment, it's hospitality in a way. You're entertaining people just like we do at a restaurant. You're, every single shift is different, every guest experience is a little bit different, and we're all striving for um just that passion about what we do, and that's good to hear. I'm happy to hear that was the experience for you. Did you have any memorable experiences with the principal actors like Paul or Virginia, or
Well,
anything that you remember, any
Virginia,
stories?
Virginia, so they kept the actors and actresses apart when they first started filming, and they just brought them together for the antagonistic scenes where they were really at each other's throats. That was the first they filmed together of. So the females were without any work for the first week of filming. So we took them on a wine tour, Virginia and Sandra O, and we got to take them to where we were making wine. They got to get on top of our fermenters and actually punch down the grape skins, which is
Oh,
something you do twice a day. And then we took them to a Bon Climat winery to have a famous lunch with our great, great friend Jim Clendenin of a Bon Climat, who is famous for making lunch at his winery every day. They got to sit down for that, understand the community, the camaraderie that we all had, and the energy we were putting in. It was right in the middle of harvest. They got to see all that excitement. So I really connected with especially Virginia because her role was a waitress in our restaurant. She came and hung out at our place to remember what it was like. She waited tables when she was in college, like almost every actress, and she just wanted to be around to get the vibe and to remember how to act. And she was as sweet as could be. She became a friend that we're still friends today. I also count many, many people in Sideways, including Alexander Payne as a friend. Alexander speaks about the locations of his movies as being characters that don't go away when the movie's gone. He's still connected to the people and the places where he films. He's an amazing person, and I'm looking forward to seeing him as we do these anniversaries. He'll be at some of these events we're going to be doing this year.
yeah, and so will Virginia. You mentioned, so you get to see
Yeah,
all your old friends at a reunion.
I know.
Why we got to take a break, but before we go to break, why do you think Sideways has been so widely received and celebrated? It's more than just a movie, right? It's a first thing anybody says when they mention going to Santa Barbara wine country is Sideways. No matter where I'm at in the country or in the world, Sideways is they're connected now. Hitching Post, San Ynez, Santa Barbara, and Sideways, and it always comes up. It's like the next thing someone says. Why do you think it captured the imagination, the spirit, the love of so many worldwide?
So I think that the filmmaker was discovering wine at the time he was doing that, and everybody that was involved in it were discovering wine, and they used our wine region as a promotional tool to sell the movie. They made a map of all the locations that they used. That map got distributed everywhere. The LA Times wrote about that map, and and it was a time shortly after 2001 9/11 when there wasn't a lot of good news. So it was 2003 when they were filming, 2004 when it was released. It turned out to be really good news that made national headlines, international headlines, and we were
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't consider that, but you're probably right about that. And it also inspired this like community. For I'll just speak for myself and my friends. We were all in the business, but we became very interested in touring wineries all of a sudden and tasting wine. And in fact, I play a clip from the movie where Paul talks about how to swirl, taste, smell the
Yeah.
wine, which is a great scene. But we all became kind of infatuated a little bit, like college wine snobs. You'd go everywhere and everybody was opening wine instead of drinking out of the keg, and everyone was swirling and tasting and talking about the tasting notes. And the education was so much fun. And I think it still continues that it has inspired some of that, that love for just the whole experience, not to mention the winemaking experience that you have given your whole life to so well. Okay, let's take that real quick break. I am playing throughout the show the Sideways music soundtrack. So we're going out right now with I'm Not Drinking Any Blankety Blank Merlot. And we're going to come back in with Miles' theme. I'm with Frank Ostini today. He is winemaker and owner of the Hitching Post and Hitching Post 2. So Hitching Post and Sideways winemaker dinners are celebrating the film's 20th anniversary with commemorative wines, the winemaker dinners, and the tastings for the release of the film on Hulu this coming fall. You can go to sideways.hitchingpost2.com for information. And there's a lot of information. There are a lot of events around this. You're definitely going to want to catch one or two or all if you can. You can travel up and from Napa down to LA, celebrating throughout California. And then the movie again is going to be out on Hulu this fall. It's the 20th anniversary. The Hitching Post and Sideways wine offerings. Okay, so the famous Pinot Noir in the film is called Highliner Pinot Noir. And Frank blends their very best barrels from their very best vineyards to make this Pinot Noir. Their goal is to achieve balance and complexity and a graceful and elegant yet compelling and complete expression of Pinot Noir. The cool climate vineyards of Santa Barbara County allow Frank and his team up there to combine the forward fruit and richness of the Santa Maria Valley with the earthiness and structure of fruit from the Santa Rita Hills. The blend of vineyards and percentages changes with each vintage, depending on which one produces the best of the best for that particular growing season. So it's also got 20 months of barrel aging. It's, I hope this is still correct, 60% for this year, Sanford and Benedict, 10% Fiddlesticks, 15% Bien Nacido, and 15% Quinta del Mar. Each lot receives all the care it needs. And again, like I said, they age them in barrels for 20 months and 40% new French oak. Scored a 91 points on Wine Enthusiast magazine. It's an amazing, amazing wine. Highliner Pinot Noir, single bottle. You can pick up 3 bottles. And the 3 bottles are seen in Sideways 2001 Hitching Post Pinot Noir Bien Nacido. And I'm going to let you go to sideways.hitchingpost2.com to find out pricing and where you can find it. You can get more information on the event and where to buy the wines. Again, sideways.hitchingpost2.com. We'll be right back. We're celebrating Sideways 20th anniversary with owner of Hitching Post and Hitching Post Wines, Frank Ostini. He's also the winemaker. We'll be right back.